Hello and welcome to the Halifax Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Jason Paul, licensed realtor in Halifax since 2017 and team lead of the Infinity Real Estate Group at eXp Realty of Canada Inc. This podcast was created to help you understand a little more about the Halifax and Nova Scotian real estate markets. If you like what you hear, I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much and enjoy the show.
You did homework on this.
I did some homework. Yeah. I mean,
You did.
really, I just wanted to kind of see what really the big difference is and kind of who it's really most likely going to help or whatever. It's not an exhaustive list of information, but it firmed up what I was thinking.
Yeah, it helps builders in Ontario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It helps
there
builders.
is going to be a subsection of folks that, when they're getting close to the finish line and now all of a sudden this is dropping and they're like, oh, hey, things aren't as tight as they used to be. That's going to be a help for them.
Yep.
But then there's also the crowd that are going to be like, oh, well, maybe I can get a bigger place. So there's going to be those folks, right? Because now it's like, oh, I don't wait a second. Because really, like above the 750 to $1 million range, that's a big chunk of change, right? Like you're talking like 100 to 130K. So like,
Yeah.
Oh
But, yeah. Well, I'll read it because I got the headline here. Ontario expanding HST rebate to lower the cost of new homes in partnership with the federal government. Essentially, the Ontario government is continuing to lower costs and help families realize this dream of homeownership by removing the full 13% of harmonized sales tax (HST) for eligible buyers of new homes valued up to $1 million, for a maximum rebate of $130,000 as part of the upcoming 2026 budget. The maximum rebate of $130,000 will be maintained for new homes valued up to $1.5 million and would decrease proportionally from $130,000 at $1.5 million to a maximum of $24,000 for homes valued at $1.85 million and above.
yeah, it goes
Building
back
on
to
the
the
provincial
old
and federal
policy.
building on the provincial and federal government's previous one to rebate the HST for first-time homebuyers of new homes up to $1 million. So essentially, the federal government and Ontario have collaborated to say, the headline is we're making homes more affordable.
That's always the
We
headline.
are here to be like, that is the headline.
That is always the headline.
We are here. They are making homeownership more accessible, as well as bailing out building companies in Ontario, and particularly the condo market.
I mean, like, look, the whole we're making things affordable to me is just, I find it sometimes
bullshit.
a disingenuous statement from the government because, again, it's like, first off, when you guys get involved in things, it's typically not like tipping the scales in our favor. And, to say you're magically waving a wand and prices are going to reduce, it just, they just won't because it doesn't change the underlying costs of the build. It doesn't change the land cost. It's not changing the material cost. It's not changing the labor cost. It's not changing any of the actual fixed pricing on the unit, which is what drives the price, right? Like, okay, so you've shaved off the tax. By math, yes, it is now less expensive because it's minus the HST burden. Okay, great. So like, are we seeing in Ontario that there's some price reductions on those builds because builders are now, taking that into consideration and lowering the price to match? Yeah, absolutely. Are some, very few, but are some actually kind of raising the price too? Yes, you get that. But like, again, it's not changing. It doesn't all of a sudden just magically wave a wand and be like, we have now changed affordability. Because like, honestly, if it truly, truly changed affordability, why would it be a 1-year program? Why would they only be doing this for a year? If the government could wake up tomorrow and magically just start reducing prices and making things affordable, why would you dangle it in front of us for only a year? Just do it forever. Like, make it just forever, right? Like, because all of a sudden you've now solved the problem. But it's not truly, it'll help in some situations. Don't get me wrong, but it's not just some magical fucking cure. Sorry, didn't mean to curse.
Well, that's not true. One thing it will help is when this got announced, my in-laws are in Ontario and they plan on selling their house early 2027 and moving down here to be closer to us with the grandkid. And as soon as this went out and was announced, I called them and was like, "Get out, get out,
Run!
No,
It's like Dante's
I'm
Peak.
not kidding. Like, I'm not like, because what's gonna happen is if you make new construction more accessible and more accessible. If you make new construction more accessible, and if it's true that some builders are dropping prices because they can now because there's less HST, that you know who that impacts? Resales.
You're 100% right that I believe it'll
right.
definitely close the gap between a resale price and a new build price. Because right now, like if the new build price is just out of whack or out attainable, unattainable, you're going to instinctively go to a resale, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to close the gap on it. But
I think it's
even resale prices are too expensive. Now I should precursor this. They have definitely come down in Ontario, right? Like 20 and 30% price reductions, but I don't think it's going to be a silver bullet to the resale price either.
Right, but
personally,
it's consumers. So we were in a brand new build custom home a few weeks ago, and it's been on the market for a while. And the seller decided to change agents, and they were interviewing a few realtors to be like, okay, what do you think of this? Where did we go wrong? Why can't we ship this thing? And they had it priced in the mid-7s. Okay, and it's been on the market for over a year. They've done over $100,000 price adjustment to try and get this thing off, and they haven't been able to do it. So when we did our market analysis, we found out that Oceanfront was selling at $100,000 more. So that's why you had to come down $100,000 because you're competing against Oceanfront. But we're there in the mid-7s, brand new builds by a reputable builder in her neighborhood, like down the fucking road. Same square footage, same beds, same baths, better layout, better floor plan, $40,000 less. And our thing was like, and all we said was like, all you're gonna do is sell their homes. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're like, we understand your new construction, we understand this, but
you're just pricing to make the neighbor look better. Yeah,
that's all you're doing. Now, in that regard, bring that home. If you're talking about Ontario, and what's happening there is, if you are now making new homes, brand new builds, more accessible and easier for a buyer to purchase, well, the conversation then turns into, why would I ever want to buy a resale?
But I also don't think I don't think it's going to make them that much more attainable. Like, if you were close to the line to qualify before, this will give you breathing room. If you were not close to affording it before, you are no closer now. Like, right? Okay. Like, this is the part where it's like, it's not making things more affordable. Yes, it's lessening the burden at the end of the sale, right? Like that tax burden and stuff like that, right?
If you were not close to being able to afford it before, you're still not close to being able to afford a house. Because resales and new home, like single, if we're talking the single detached market, single families, resales, and single family new builds, they're like, yes, resale tends to be a little lower, but they're pretty like, what's $1 million in Ontario for a house? Like, if you can't, I'm sorry, like I don't have $1 million. Well, I don't think you can buy a house. Like, I'm sure you can in other markets, but like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not in the, like, they're talking about Toronto and the GTA. It's like, if you're not shopping around, 8, 9, that price point, like, what are you really buying?
Oh yeah, like especially in Toronto and stuff like that. Yeah, you're like 800-900 is like your single family dwelling, like your bungalow type of deal, right? Like,
right.
But again, I think it's just, if the conversation goes to affordability and what this does to it, this truly doesn't do anything to affect the underlying affordability concerns or issues. Because again, it's not a rebate on materials. No. It's not a rebate on all that, the land cost, so there's that.
Right.
And like, you've just essentially lessened the tax burden. So like, the hope is, yes, then the builder lowers the price to match what now doesn't have to be incurred, which then makes that price less. Okay. Logic is like, all right, now it's a bit more affordable. But if you couldn't, like, it's still like, when it's like $800,000 and $900,000 for a friggin' house and you don't have the income to support it, you can drop the tax 4 times. you can do a multiplier on the
Right.
HST and say, listen, we're gonna double the rebate on the HST, and it's still really not an affordable product. Like, that is the larger problem in Canada now, is the
Well, in Canada, it's
affordability
affordability.
issue. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like a race to the bottom. Like, they're making these like changes at CMHC and things where they're just like, we're making it more accessible and more affordable. Blah. You're moving the goalpost. You're just moving a goalpost
Yeah.
to make things a bit more attainable. Like, when I'm stretching myself, now you're going to allow me to stretch myself just a bit more so that I can actually get it.
Right.
It doesn't do anything, but it just puts me into an incredibly expensive product. Right.
Well, like here, well, it always seems to be in the idea of making things more affordable, that it's always, how can we give you some loan from some government organization, whether that's municipal, provincial, federal, that can help you afford the price. That's not, or afford's the wrong way. How can we help the price be more accessible? When in reality, it's, the price sucks.
Yeah.
Like, just call it what it is. It's too high.
It's what they're nuts. Like, the prices
Like,
are
just
nuts.
like, stop making it. Just stop.
And listen, like, I'm almost like, I mean, I hope this doesn't get put on the internet, because like, for me, I almost like don't even think it's going to be solved if you build more. I really don't. I don't think if all of a sudden we have more houses available to buy, but there's going to be a massive swing in the purchase price across the board. No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right, devil's advocate, because this is good. Okay, if you, how many units are for sale in Halifax right now? Like, as of, for the April stats, how many units?
I heard, I sat with somebody this week, and I heard there was like a triple digit amount of listings come up.
It's April. They always go.
I suppose. Yeah. But I guess we were talking about like what's happening, like when it comes to the real estate side of things. You see more buyers, you see more sellers. And I think I'm hearing like a consistent feedback from folks that it's a lot more sellers, right? And no, it wasn't you that I was talking to, it was somebody else. And they were saying the same thing. They're like, man, I am seeing a tremendous amount of sellers hit.
Yeah, it's selling. People are selling. Okay, so for March 2026, total active units for sale in Halifax is 973. So not even 1,000 homes, not even 1,000 units in all of HRM. Okay. If you go back a year, March 2025, we were at 861. So you got basically 100 unit surplus. Okay. If you go to new listings, March 2026, we got 331 brand new listings hit the market last month. If you go back a year, March 25, 376. So it's actually less listings this year than last year. Okay. So is it really that much supply? Is that going to crush the market? Here's devil's advocate. The idea that more units does not bring down supply. Does not bring down prices. I think fundamentally is wrong. When you use the phrase, if you received a lot of houses today, if you could pick a number, right? When you say that, how many new homes do you think we need to hit the market to slow the market down and bring home prices down? How many new units?
See, I struggle because
Do you want to double it? Do you want to triple it? Do you want to quadruple it? Just give me a number, and we can play this all day.
I mean, double or triple what's going to hit the market, and all of a sudden you've got all this extra inventory. But if the price of the inventory is so out of whack that it's not affordable, you can have quadruple the amount of houses, right? And so the problem for me is, over the last however many years, we've been seeing houses get built. You know what I mean? And the prices, you do a subdivision, okay, there's 20, 30 new houses there. It doesn't all of a sudden start with the first one being this amount of price, and then they all of a sudden start to go down. Oh, because we have a bunch in the neighborhood. So like, there's stock here, like, let's rock and roll. To me, it's like, it's interesting because when we use a sale price, there's always a comparable, right? You always compare to what used to sell, it justifies the price, right? So for me, it's like, if what we're doing is saying what sold yesterday justifies what I sold today, and the prices are going up, prices will continue to go up, right? To a degree, and maybe slow down how much they go up, but like, you're still going to be like, as a seller, well, I want what they got. If not, I want more. And then, in Ontario, you're seeing the opposite is true. Now prices are coming down, and people are like, I can't sell, or I don't want to sell, or whatever the case is, because you're going to wait. It's almost like a wave, right? It's great when it's going up and you can ride it. It sucks when it's coming down because you got to ride it. So like,
Right.
to me, I think this is really what this is doing is they're trying to, like you said, I don't necessarily feel it's like a bailout, but I think it's definitely more geared towards, they're going to say affordability, because the government, when they get involved in things, most people are like, why are you involved? Well, I'm here to help. I'm here to make things better for you, because that's what we're here for as the government, in theory, right? I think if anything, it's just trying to kind of direct the game where they're just like, hey guys, we need some love for the construction sector. Like, let's do this so we kind of incentivize. You know what I mean? I think they're just trying to direct
Hold
where the
on.
money's going.
Yeah, but hold on though. Okay, there's a few things in there. One, if the new construction companies are being bailed out, and I use air quotes here, if they're being bailed out, who do you think lobbied for that? New construction companies.
Oh yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like who do you think asked? Right?
Well,
if
like,
you're
and
gonna go that route,
they're hurting, right? The carrying costs are brutal. You're sitting on inventory
they're
that's
getting
not
killed.
moving. You're getting slaughtered, right?
But that also carries over to the second part is, ultimately what will solve housing is inventory, and I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to that point in a second. But and the problem with the new construction in Ontario, and you can see that in the new starts, all-time 30-year low of brand new construction starts in Ontario, because it's no longer making money.
Mhm.
Why? It costs too much to build them. Also, when was the last time you were in Ontario?
I couldn't even tell you. Holy crap, that's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Well, I flew into Pearson a
So,
few times.
no.
Does that count?
Okay.
I don't travel and roam around Ontario.
See, I'm lucky enough that like I see my in-laws twice, sometimes 3 times a year with my daughters, and I'm in like rural Ontario. Like, not like we fly in the GTA, we'll spend a day in Toronto, but then we're in what you call the suburbs. Like, we're in Barrie or Wasaga.
Yeah.
Last time we were in Collingwood, and we were in anyway, we're in there. When you drive through suburban Ontario, just play a game with me. What do you think they are building as brand new homes? Like, what do you think is the house model that they're building? Honestly,
Oh, it's probably infill, like 4-unit developments, maybe 8s.
single family, fully detached, 4,000 square feet, 4-bed, 4-bath.
That's huge.
That is what I see built. And you're driving through a suburb of
Holy
Ontario,
crap.
and you're like,
Wow.
why?
Oh, wow.
and then I'm telling you, the sheer volume of house that these people are building in Ontario, I will drive by and I'm like, who are you like why? Why that? Like, why not an 1,800 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath? Like, why not that? And I'm sure I'm sure if you think about it logically, as not logically, but if you think about it from the builder perspective, I'm sure it's the margins. Like, I'm sure it's, we get the biggest bang for our buck spent on all materials and labor if we can sell this type of product for 1.5, 1.6, 1.8, or 2. And I'm sure that's why they're building it, because they consistently find buyers that pay these prices. Okay, fair enough. I would also then lobby the new construction to say, build fucking cheaper houses and not go for the margins, and you might not be in this predicament. But the government has to get involved, because new starts, brand new new homes being built in Ontario is at all-time low, like 20, 30-year historic all-time lows. So how do you get builders to build homes to help solve the housing crisis? Well, you incentivize them to build by bringing them buyers. Okay, here's your rebate. Buyers can afford your ridiculous home prices at the ridiculous square footage you're building. Great. Now we keep it ticking. And this goes back to your comparable thing. Now we have comparables that establish these prices. So now the resale guys are like, well, they're selling it 2. I should be worth 1.6. I'm only 800 square feet smaller. Like, my kitchen's dated, but that's only $35,000 to update that. My bathrooms are dated. That's about, a $20,000 fix with a carpenter or a contractor. That's when you get into those prices. The problem with that is, if you're going into that game and you incentivize the builders to build by making prices more accessible, not affordable, that's where the fuck up is. You have to let it rot until
Yeah, but
someone can finally go, okay.
To me, when you say you make it affordable versus accessible, to me, affordable is making the change that everybody needs to see because it aligns with their debt, with their income, and their ability to afford it.
I agree.
When you make it more accessible, it is a race to the bottom.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
I
like
completely agree.
it's like you're
Oh, yeah.
moving on levers that allow me to now stretch myself beyond where I really should have been able to anyway, or comfortably do it. And then when things adjust and the market changes, I'm screwed because I'm sitting on a house
Right.
that now just lost double-digit value because of the way things
Yeah.
go. The problem for me is like, it's, and again, look at me, I'm not an economist, right? I just shoot off on the internet and make
I'm not an
comments on
economist.
things that I see and perceive. But at the same token, I'm like, there seems to be, for me, I just see a much larger disconnect between like the actual like emotional side of it versus like the economic side of it, and like what everybody says should be happening. Because it's like,
Right.
well, this should be happening, but prices are still going up. I just don't understand. Because to me, that's the disconnect. That is this is,
Right.
it's the emotion drives over here. Like
Okay. Two parts. One, are prices still going up?
here, yes. There, no.
They're down.
I thought we had like a
Nova
2% increase in Nova Scotia recently in price.
If you go month to month and you really if you watch the prices, which no one really does, I have them because I watch them. So high of last year, 636 average price point, May 2025. This year, March 2026, we're at 623, and last month we were at 608, and to start the year we were at 583. And when we started last year, we were at 617.
Yeah, but so we started the year at 5 something and we're up to 6 something.
Yeah, but we've been hanging around 600 for the last 3 years. It's just 20 grand up when it's hot, and it's 20 grand down when it's cold. Well, we've been trending at 6. Like we're not up anymore.
And
If you isolate the data and go 583 in January to March 26th, as realtors and influencers and social media content creators like to do, we're going to take this specific data set because this specific data set tells us the narrative we want. Is it a great time to sell a house? Absolutely, it's a great time to sell a house. Do you know why?
It's always,
they're up fucking 8%.
That's
since
why I was
the start of the year.
I was impressed with Korea, or not Korea the country, but Korea, the friggin' Canadian real estate folks. It was very interesting to see them to have like this, almost like a mea culpa, where they're just like, oh, maybe it won't be sunshine and roses. Like they recently put out a report and they're like, oh, it could not be good. But
Hold
to me, again, even like a little bit of the 2% swing, like you're talking about, to me, like when you look at the province, okay, so the immigration numbers are down, the new folks are down. Really, to me, that 2% moving up and down is, again, the emotional driver of it, where like I saw my neighbor sell for 6, I want 625, right? And like
I'll even give you a better tidbit of why that's happened, and I've seen this in the last 2 years. This is my 3rd year seeing this. We all start out the year, January, it's slow. The thing is buyers, like if you see this too. I'm sure at the beginning of the year, January of every year, you get a flood of new buyers being pre-approved.
Yeah. Spring's coming. We want to get things in line. Yeah.
Spring's coming. It's time. We had this New Year goal. We're buying a house this year. You get a flood of buyers. How long does it take a motivated buyer to get pre-approved?
Days, if they're motivated.
Days.
Not even. I mean,
cool.
and I don't mean like a week, like a couple days. It's not that hard.
Let's go. Let's go. It takes the average motivated buyer 7 to 14 days to get pre-approved for to buy a house. Okay.
Oh, that's way too hard. Like we can do it in like 48 hours.
Right.
Right.
Great.
Especially if they're motivated, because they're going to have documents. We're going to look at them and we're like, okay, cool. You're ready to rock. Like,
great. I'm going to go 7 days then. Takes a week to get
some people are slow with docs.
If you get the new wave of new year, new me, new goals, buying houses, they're ready to shop by the end of January. Here's the thing about the market. In Halifax and Nova Scotia, we are very seasonal, meaning everyone believes the best time to sell my house is April, May. If we talk to selling people, selling their houses in January, we are a minimum of 2 months out before we get that house ready for market. That puts us into March and April. The disconnect is this. The reason why the prices go up like they do in April and May are actually because of the deals done in February and March. Because the way the system works for us and average price points is you get your average sale price based on closed transactions of that month.
So if they close from their January offers and all of a sudden the numbers in April look a little different. So then when you're listing in April, you're like, hey, the neighbor just sold for this and closed. So like now that's my target. Yeah.
Right, but it gets a little trickier because the other thing about that is most people do not list in February and March, but yet those 2 months in Halifax and actually pretty much across the province are our large price point drivers for April. Because if you sell your house in February, it takes 30 to 60 days for the average transaction to close, which means they're closing in April. That's what drives that price point. And every single year, our average highest price point is April. So that means most deals that close in April are done in February and March. Why? Why are they so expensive in February and March? Because there's no fucking houses. Because everyone waits till spring. So then you get the emotional side of it of a buyer who's pre-approved looking at houses end of January. But they're all pre-approved looking at houses end of January. So the phenomenon I've seen the last two to 3 years is it's slow January, slow February, slow until March break. First week of April is when it goes crazy. But then you start seeing new single family, semi-detached house in Lower Sackville. Oh, listed at 4,499. Oh, guess what, Jason? You have 5 offers on it. Why am I doing 5 offers? It's fucking March. Oh, it's because there's nothing else on the market and you have 100 buyers pre-approved. But as soon as you get through March, April, May, you know what happens in June, July? You start being able to negotiate under $400K for those same properties. It's happened the last 3 years of buyers. So you can bring on the emotion of it. The emotion of it is people have FOMO and they get impatient. I got clients right now going through it. They're upset because every house they see has multiple offers and they do not want to be in bidding wars. Okay, I told them, great, we're going to stop looking till June or July. We're going to go shopping because you're going to get the same house on a better deal. Because you know what's going to happen in March, April, May, you're going to get all your inventory. And this goes back to the original point. If you double your houses, right? If you double the amount of houses and you have the same amount of buyers, prices come down. Why? Super simple. Now all the sellers are in a race to the bottom to find that one buyer.
Yeah, it's so, maybe I'm more cynical about it because it's just, when you see the new builds come on, nobody's building a new build house for 350, 400, right?
No, there's 7.
And so like when a client's going around saying there's no inventory, well, we're talking about 900 houses on the market, right? So like, that's a decent number, right?
No, it's not.
But I'm sure there's a price variation in of the 900 of how many are actually in your price range, right?
When you bought your house, do you know how many active listings were in Halifax when you bought your house in 2015? I actually do, so fuck with me.
I just know I went through 52 of them and I could have, and I could have beat the piss out of 52 offers because there was just nobody was buying houses and...
Give me a guess. How many houses do you think were for sale in 2015 when you bought your house?
I'd have to think there'd be probably over like 1,500 units. Like there was a lot. 4,200 units.
4,200.
Yeah, it was wild. Like it was.
Yeah, no wonder you could beat the piss out of a seller.
Oh yeah.
Right? If you flooded the market with 1,000 new homes, you could go to any seller you wanted and beat the fucking piss out of their price.
And again, this I go back to, like, again, I'm just like a lippy guy you put on the internet where it's like, I look at 900 and I'm like, okay, there's houses. You tell me you compare it to 4,000. No. That's a pretty steep difference. I would then have to change my tune and be like, okay, that's a lot of houses. But if you put a neighborhood, if you built a neighborhood behind my house right now and you loaded it with brand new houses, I'm still going to want what my neighbor sold their place for, or if I think my house is comparable to the new ones and they're coming in and they're $750,000, I'll be like, cool. Well, if that's the house that's close by and I got a bigger yard and I got a attached garage, I want that price now. So That's
Yeah,
where
so this is
that's where my mental part where I'm just like, I don't
you're right.
necessarily see the logic in like you're going to build a bunch of houses and all of a sudden it's going
Devil's
to pop the pressure on the pimple or the bubble. Like,
devil's advocate. Do you think sellers dictate price?
up until the point where somebody has to agree to it. Like, sellers may dictate what they would like to see, but the buyer's going to
So list
decide
number is a
what's,
suggestion.
yeah. The buyer is
And
the one who has
more
to put up the
and
money.
and more sellers are starting to realize that that suggestion ain't shit. You
Yeah,
know,
because
I thought I'll give Sandra Pike a shout out here. She's been doing some good content recently.
she has
She
been.
said,
I've been watching the reels. They're great.
yeah, yeah, she's been putting out good content. She released a reel that said that 68% of all listings sold last month had to do a price adjustment.
I know. You can see it in all the posts. You can
Before-
see it in all the
so-
updates.
Right, but if that's what people are having to do to sell, is that not an argument that prices are starting to calm down, even with low inventory?
Okay, so yes, like obviously, right? They're having to do price reductions. I get it. But you and I had a few podcasts ago where we talked about the inflation in Canada and all this other stuff, and they're like, inflation's down, inflation's down. Well, when you have had double-digit worth of inflation,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it drops
now, it's now baked
5%,
and
you're
baked
like,
into the price.
oh wow, it dropped
Yeah.
5%. Well, P.S. it went up 16% over the last, however, you know
Right.
what I mean? And those are just random numbers, but
Right.
you know what I mean comparatively.
Right, yeah.
So the same thing with the purchase price. When you're just like, oh well, they're having
Yep.
to do price reductions. Yeah, because like the
Yeah.
reality of the buyer now comes in that they can't afford the lunacy of the listing price, and so
Okay.
like to me, it's just natural selection at that point. Like you
Well,
know,
but I think
we're starting to see the true limits of the buyer because
But-
you got so
well-
many people coming in being like, no, I can't afford this. Like, and
But that's it. Now buyers are now have reached probably limits. I would hope on home prices that they're finally being like, even us, as Anya wants to buy a new house. She's been banging on that drum for a few months now, and she's decided that we're buying a new house next year. So she's starting to bring, and I don't want to. I just don't want to move. But she is right. Put it out there. She is right. We have to move. We need a bigger house. My daughter takes up too much
is
space.
she in the kitchen right now
You've heard-
listening to this?
No, she's out with clients, so no, but we have video evidence.
Yeah.
But we had this conversation last week where she was trying to price out a new build, modular home, wanting to price out 2,000 square feet, piece of land, piece of dirt, septic well, everything else. And her parents are building a new house, so she wanted to be right next to them. Went to the builder. The in-laws, they can afford their house. No problems. They're fine. Ontario money. They're solid.
Central Canada money.
Rock solid. When we got our price, we had the conversation, and like let me be very, very clear. Annie and I we do well. We make more than the average household income. I know that for a fact. And when we got the price, and this is for a 750 purchase, we both were like, that is such an expensive mortgage for just a monthly bill. We both talked about it, and I was like, I literally said, our mortgage right now is under $1,400.
Yeah, and your
Right?
mortgage there
Like-
would be like $5,000 or $6,000.
Like it's like like carnage, like just like a eye-watering number.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd rather buy a shithole because I just don't want my monthly to be above, at the most, $2,500. Like that's like when I think about like $2,500,
What's comfortable and
mortgage.
affordable? Yeah, 100%.
Well, it's not even that. Like, how much do you want your monthlies to be? Like $2,500. Like, if you think about $2,500 for a month for just a mortgage, then you got property taxes, then you got utility costs. So Nova Scotia Power, they're not getting any cheaper. Then you go into home insurance, and then we have one car that's a lease, that's a monthly payment. But now we have to buy a second one because our free car finally just gave up on us. So now we have to finance a new car. So now you're finding out how much cars cost, and I'm like, that's like you're running like $4,000. That's not even mentioning groceries and expenses and gas.
That's just it. Like when we talk about the affordability on the purchase price point, it's all the other stuff too, because the ratios want you to have like 38% of your monthly income, allotted for or 39% of the monthly income allotted for your mortgage. Great.
Yep.
But then you start to add in everything else. And then all of a sudden you're at like 50% of your monthly income, or 60% of what's coming in is going to service that stuff. And so like,
I think it's more.
and then, but when you talk to a new, like, especially if you've got a renter and they're trying to stash money aside, like I was watching the, government housing committee thing this week, and there was a couple guys on there. Ron Butler was on there, and a couple other guys. And one of the politicians was like, how much would it cost? Like, how long would it take a person to save up in like downtown Toronto for one of these houses? And he's like, it's never going to happen. It's just straight up never going to happen, because if their burden every month is 50-60% of their disposable income, and they're living in a rental, well, holy crap, groceries and everything starts to tip the scales. What are they putting aside? A couple of bucks every month? And then when you look at the purchase prices of like $900,000, it's like he's like, and you can see you can see the realization hit the politician's face, and he's like, "Oh, seriously?" Ron's like, "Never." It's never happening. Like, but again, and so then so then we bring it back to the HST thing, right? So like,
right.
Helping, this will be that help at the end of the line and the finish line, when you're just like, oh, holy crap. Like I did my $750,000 build, and I'm like, oh my God, it's $100,000 for GST or whatever. Right. It's like, that helps. But it doesn't change the fact that what it cost to build the place was astronomical.
Right. And like, going back to the GST, HST bit, like, let's be clear. Whenever a government steps in, we hammer it. Like, I think the only program we don't hammer is the Nova Scotia Down Payment Assistance Program. Right?
Love it.
Like, because that's the only one.
My thing is, it's just how they. My thing is how they step in, right? Like, just throw this out there, and like, I know it's probably not the most capitalistic approach to something, but the government sits on a tremendous amount of land. If the government wanted to like really affect the price of things, go find however umpteen amount of hectares of hardwood you have somewheres on Crown land, and go haul it all down and start handing it out for a song and a dance. Subsidize the materials. Like, you know what I mean? If we're talking about material costs, but in the same breath, they're raising development costs in Ontario and Toronto with some of these municipalities. So you're talking on one side where you're trying to help this accessibility and affordability side of things, but then quietly at your council meeting last night, you jacked up the development costs, and it's like you're battling yourself. Literally, government, you're literally battling yourself. You're trying to move the lever over here, and then you step on the neck over here.
Hold on. But that's municipalities increasing development fees, while the provincial and federal government are trying to step in. Yes, government's battling itself, but it's 3 different departments all trying to.
And their websites all end with .gov. Right? Like, is my thing. Like, it's like, don't tell me that it's like, no, that is not an acceptable answer. Oh, it's the municipality. Cool. Who feeds the municipality? The provincial government. Who feeds the provincial government? The federal government. So the boys all go to the same Christmas party is what I'm saying. Like, if and again, it would torpedo Irving's lumber mills if all of a sudden the government started subsidizing lumber and handing out 2x4s for $1.50. But that would actually affect the price of a house. You know what I mean?
Well, if you just, how much is a lot now? If the government just said we have 500 hectares, we're going to sell an acre of land per parcel for $10,000.
Yeah,
you would just, and like, then you put in the agreement of like, all lumber, everything used to clear every tree killed to clear lots, we're going to sell 2x4s at $1.50.
Or they team up with the developer and say, okay,
or you let you, the builder, buy them at $2.50 at a buck a pop. You know what I mean? There's some way in there. If
like,
you did that,
there's mechanisms that they can pull on.
The comparables that we would pull on to historically convince people that homes are worth these dollar amounts, you would then just kill the comparable market. Because, hey, brand new construction at $4,999, your fucking bungalow at 1,000 square feet with an unfinished basement and dated kitchens, bathrooms, you're at $340.99. Because that's a brand new house. You can't compete with them.
And I think there's a little, obviously, because again, a kid, you can't just go tear down the woods and start giving them 2x4s for $1, because yes, it would have a downward effect on BC's lumber mills, the west eastern
Yeah.
side of things, but if it was
Yeah,
a
you can't
matter of
destroy
government,
the economy.
no, and again, you know, if they were to go and have the land and then they team up with a developer and say, or a builder and say, okay, hey guys, you're going to be our primary builder for this area. We're going to waive the development charges because we own this land. Like, this is our land. So like, you're just coming in and we just need you to build. We're going to give the clients or the buyers like whatever type of rebate or subsidy there. Yes. But to your point, as
And
soon as that
hold on,
happens,
and
it
you can
starts to pull the
only
thread on all
build
the other houses.
1,500 square feet.
There would
You can
have to be,
only
yeah.
build 1,500 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath. I don't want to see any 4,000 square foot houses.
But yeah, it's just tricky because that to me would be something that would actually help affordability. However, there's obviously downsides to that, right? Like you said, the
Well, no matter,
comparable
like,
market would be tanked, right? And I
if
think that's
you,
the
if, well,
balance, right?
if you solve let's say you solved housing. Now, what does that look like? Okay, just work with me here. Prices are 623 last month. Okay, if you, let's say tomorrow they solved housing, does that mean home prices are 600K? Just play with me here. Do you want like, when do you think it's solved? Is it $600,000 average home price?
Okay, hold
Is
on a
it
second. Give me a bit
550?
more. Who's buying the house? Are we first-time home buyers? Are we
Let's just
just
let let's just say average home price, because right now 623. We both agree that feels too high. So where do you want to see average home prices say they've solved housing? Do you want it
I think
550? Do you want it 450? Don't you dare go back to 2019 prices, because we were undervalued. So give me a realistic number of, like,
something
if
in the
they
fours
solve
to me is
housing.
something in the fours to me is realistic, and only from an affordability standpoint. Like what, and again,
Okay.
this is a hard question because like in areas like, let's say
Yep.
in Alberta where incomes are incredibly good, right? Like you could
Yep.
afford that little extra bit, but then also like their houses are kind of that average price. But like,
We're
to
talking Nova
me,
Scotia.
in Nova Scotia for our income level, the 400s is
Yep.
really the most attainable price for most people, right? And to your point,
Okay.
the income, sorry, the monthly debt load on that is a lot more stomachable than something that's like 700,000, 800,000, right? Even when,
Yep.
like, I've had clients that make incredibly good money, and there shouldn't, like, there's no need for them to shake a stick at what that price is because they could afford it 3 and 4 times over on what they bring in monthly. However, nobody wants to be paying $6,000 a month for a mortgage, like,
Yep.
even if you can afford it. And so,
Unless you're
but
bringing in 20.
right, but then it's tricky because then you start to experience the same thing you're seeing in Ontario, where all of a sudden these, you have these properties and the price drops out from underneath them, and now you're kind of like stuck with it. And you're like, well, I hope that I got to wait for the swing to come back, or I'm sitting in this for way longer than I thought, so that I just don't lose my shirt, right? So
Yep.
it's again, it's tricky because, like you said, like the reason why we always kind of dump on when our government gets involved, it's like how they get involved and like what it really is going to do. And is it helping, or is it just kind of like moving the pieces on the board, and it's the game's still being played.
Okay, few things. One, I'd say if I wanted to say government solved housing affordability, I think Halifax should be between 5 and 550. That's where I think, like, you've
Like Halifax,
done
like the
realistically speaking.
peninsula, absolutely. But I think when you start to
I'm
get in,
talking HRM average price point, the one that we talk
yeah,
about all the time on this podcast. 5 to 550, you've solved it.
yeah.
Fair. If you solve it, right? In the last 5 years, how many people do you erode their wealth? And like I know
Yeah.
people listening to this podcast who don't have houses are gonna say, fuck them, fuck their wealth, they don't need money, da, 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 like whatever it is. Right. But if you get rid of that much wealth in people's homes and their net worth, that means they can't retire. They can't sell that house. They're underwater. They can't be a part of the economy. There's other drip factors in there that stops
And
you from eroding that wealth.
and that is 100% the balance, because you see it in the States now. Like, because like, so CMHC has
Yeah.
come out and said, like, we need to see prices go down. Like, it's an affordability price point issue. However, if you look at the States, and I usually don't quote the man often, but like even Trump was saying, like, we don't want to see a massive reduction in purchase price because of that very
Yep.
reason. Now we have all these folks
Yep.
who they're stored equity, they're stored,
They're stuck.
their value is in that house. And so like,
Yep.
if all that sudden changes, now everybody's kind of, so there is a bit of
Yep.
it's a pendulum, right? And
So here's a question, right? Because when I hear the word affordable, okay, when I hear affordable housing, they need to build affordable housing. My devil's advocate of that word is if someone couldn't afford it, they could not buy it. So to say that housing is inaccessible or unaffordable, I just don't like the monthly bills. There are buyers paying these prices. There are tenants paying these rents. They are affording it. Maybe they're eating ramen 7 nights a week. Maybe,
craft dinner
you
and
know what I
rocks.
mean? But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it may not be a glamorous affordable, but they're affording it. How many pre-approvals have you done? We're surprised that these home buyers or first-time buyers can afford these price points, but they have good jobs, no debt, no income. They've handled their money well. Therefore, they can afford these prices. Devil's advocate would tell you because they can afford it, that makes it affordable. So the statement I'm trying to make is like you could call it unaffordable, you can call it unattainable. If it was unattainable, unaffordable, prices would come down because no one can buy these prices. People are still buying these prices. Good or bad, we can debate that all day long. But we talk about Nova Scotia's wages can't support these home prices. It's been 5 years of this. Clearly, someone can afford the fucking wages and can
Well, like,
afford the fucking houses.
and like you said, a lot of it is that forward mobility from the ability to pull equity out of a previous property or whatever they've had,
100%.
right? That allows them to put that down. It's just, yeah,
I'm not saying it's healthy, right? I'm not saying it's healthy. You know what I mean, though? Like,
no, I
what
get
I'm
what you're saying.
saying
I
is
get what you're
people
saying.
can
Like you can get in the door, so you're in the door. Now you're in, right? Like, right. I guess the thing is like the affordability and what it actually means once you own the place. Because like I had a conversation with a guy last night and recently purchased like a year and a half ago, and it was all fine and dandy when he bought the place.
until
Property taxes adjusted. And
yeah, of course.
so that was the next thing for him. He's just like, man, this was a huge change when this
Yep.
adjusted. And so like then it's almost like the death by 1,000 cuts after that. And so that's where
Yep.
it's like, yes, you can get in and just get past the finish line and get in that house. And if you're cool with stomach in the bill, that's great. But then it's like the follow through of all the other stuff. You know what I mean? That adds
'Cause
on
you don't
top of
know.
it. And then all of a sudden it's like you're putting $1 aside after the end of the month for savings because you're just literally servicing everything that's in front of you. And you can, because you've got that job and you've got the equity or whatever, you put a big down payment down. But that's my thing. It's like affordability is one thing when you're buying the house, but it's like once you're in the house, okay, now what's your affordability look like to be able to like put money aside, save for your kids' college, buy the hockey gear, go on I don't know, a fucking trip to Keji on a
Let
weekend.
me be very, very clear. If you are buying a house because you gotta eat ramen noodles 7 nights a week, you cannot afford that house. That is not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All I'm playing devil's advocate is you can't say these prices are not affordable because people are able to make it work. Now, would I ever recommend someone be house poor? Absolutely not. When I am very much in the same light, Andy and I can afford a $700,000 house. I can afford $800,000 house. I can afford that. I know for a fact I can. I'm not doing it because I don't want a $4,000 a month overhead. I don't
Yeah.
want to spend $46,000 a year on fucking bills. Never mind taxes, like
Yeah.
just income taxes on top of the monthlies. That means I got to make 9, 10, 12. Like it's so absurd. And I think like that is the problem that you're highlighting is that you don't like how people have to stretch themselves for these prices because these prices are that's where you get to see the out of controlness of these things is that you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, we're burying people in debt in monthlies just because house prices seem to be so astronomical. The problem is about saying they're astronomical or unaffordable is we have a bunch of data that states that people are affording these houses, and that's your problem. If you want to, that's why I go back to the real point I was trying to make at the beginning of this is if you are talking about housing and affordability, if you want to bring prices down, you need to give buyers options so that they can go to different sellers like what you did once upon a time and see which sellers motivate to get them the best deal. That's how you do it. You need 2,000, 3,000 homes for buyers to be able to go, I just saw your whole fucking neighborhood today, buddy. You're the one I want. How about 50K off? Because I'll go to that guy and he'll give me 50K, but I don't really like his house. So what are you gonna do? You know what I mean?
And I do. But then I live in West Bedford. And like, or at least on the other side of it. And so for me, it's like all those spots that were built, and maybe West Bedford's a bit of a bad example because it's a classy spot. But even when you get out past like, the Exhibition Park area and those new developments out there and stuff like that, like those new build prices are pretty steep, right? So like,
okay, I will give you let's just a little more information for your sake, and the audience might appreciate this too. When we do market analysis, and we're doing about 1 or 2 a week right now, we're pricing up people's homes for them. We look at it's called market conditions. So you have your buyer's market, your seller's market, your balanced market. If you look at the statistics in HRM, HRM is in a seller's market. They're at 2.7 months of inventory, and the way market conditions are defined is 0 to 4 months of inventory is sellers, 4 to 6 months of inventory is balanced, 6+ months of inventory is buyers, right? So when you buy your house in 2015, you were probably in like 26 months of inventory.
Oh, it was definitely a buyer. Like the one I looked at had been on the market for a year.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at these things, when we're doing a market analysis, we look at 2 different markets. We look at one, their neighborhood, which means we plot out our own map of how many homes are sold in this area and what that looks like. Then we look at the district. So for instance, a district would be it's in our internal system. So your district is Hammond's Plains. That means it's Kingswood, Hammond's Plains, and whatever other subdivisions up in there, right? So it's a very large area, right? Like if you look at it's called District 105. That is East Hants, Lance, Stewiacke, Mount Uniacke, Upper Mount Uniacke. Like it's like Rod.
That
like that
broad.
is such a big.
Yeah.
It's a big and then you get South End Halifax is its own district, and North End Halifax is its own district. Okay, so it's a myriad of things, but we look at the neighborhood and the district. Every single district that in the last month that we've looked at and neighborhood that we've looked at have all been balanced or buyers markets. Every single one.
Buyers too.
Buyers. Oh yeah, if you look at if you map out Indigo Shores right now, which is one of the highest, most affluent real estate markets in the province, Indigo Shores is 11 months of inventory based on how many units are available and how many people are buying. They are in a dead buyer's market.
And to me, that speaks that the prices were too high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see it in pockets. Now, you say that, you go down to fucking North End Halifax, they're at 0.001 months of inventory because you can't buy a house. There's not enough houses for North End
Then
Halifax.
it also becomes location too, right? Like,
Exactly.
you expect to pay that price down the South End because it's the South End, right? When you start to get into South End prices, 45 minutes outside the city or 30 minutes outside the city or 20 in the case of Indigo Shores, you really got to start justifying the case, and like this better be one hell of a lake I'm sitting on, and you better have a dock built for me, and like all this other stuff.
But you are like I think we've done probably 10 market analysis in the last month for people. Not one market that we did a market analysis in is in a sales market. Not one.
Yeah.
They're all like 4.5, 5 months of inventory. A lot of them are 5.5 months, like balanced market leaning to buyers. Some are definitely in buyers markets, and you're seeing it. You're like, yeah, this is not the market you think it is. I know you think it's hot, Like, you're seeing things sell because they are priced well, good condition, good location, and the realtors and the sellers have done a really good job of
I
making sure the product looks great.
I think there's a bit of a reality shift that's kind of happening, and that's kind of why you're seeing the prices go down a little bit, and the sits and
Yeah.
the inventory sitting on market. Because I think, without the influx of folks coming from every corner of the earth who didn't have Nova Scotia money, they had other province money. It didn't really matter.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Here, this is great because it's way less than what I would pay elsewhere." I think that's kind of calmed down like quite a bit,
Yeah.
and so now you're dealing with just like a lot of local buyers, and like again.
Nova Scotia money.
It's Nova Scotia money, and folks are becoming a bit more in tune to being like, no, the price is crazy, and even our
Right.
interest rates have gone nuts. So like, there's a little bit of that, but I think
You're
there's
even
just
but
a bit
even
more
dealing with
reality.
Nova Scotia money, like, if you're talking about Nova Scotia money as a whole, like, wages are fairly stable because they wouldn't be able to support these prices if they weren't. The other thing about it is if you bought a house 2019, 21, 22, like, the average person lives in a house for 5 to 7 years before they make a move. You go back 5 to 7 years, you're at 2019 prices. Oh, okay, 2019, if you bought so someone making a move now has racked up so much equity that they can sell their house and just go change it for a better house, and they can keep the same mortgage because they're trading in three,
Yeah.
four, $500,000 worth of equity to then allow them to go into that house, and they can afford a 200, 250, 300, $400,000 mortgage. So they're buying a $900,000 house, but they're changing up 400K of equity. So that's also at play too for home prices and making it more accessible. You're not actually moved up in the world at all in terms of your financial or net worth or your game. You've just traded equity for equity. And that's also a lever here that people are playing at in the province, which helps supports the prices.
Yeah.
The problem is going to be if prices, and that's the other thing though, if you tackle affordability, like actually tackle affordability, and you wipe 100K off of everyone's home value, okay, how many people you're going to see no mobility?
No, because a
If
lot are
money won't
using, and
stop
then
changing,
yeah, and especially where folks are using leverage on of their parents for the down
home
payment.
equity lines of credit.
That's where they're getting the money. They're getting that stored value in their house. So it is,
Yep.
which to me, again, back to like the construction side of things, I think, it's a bit of a litmus test, I believe, in Ontario, what they're doing now, because it's only for a year, right? Will they do it
Well,
federally? That's a bigger question because that's a big nugget of lost revenue for the federal government, right? Because
right.
they have new buyer programs right now. New buyer.
Yeah.
Ontario went from new buyer to new home, period.
Every buyer.
Anybody buying
Yeah.
it, right? So like, which is great, but for on Canada wide, well, that's a pretty big lost revenue stream, right? So I
Right.
think what they're doing is they'll see, okay, what's the uptick here? What happened in Ontario in the last 12 months? Did this really like kickstart things? Did this really move the needle? I just, again,
So you don't,
we'll see if it does.
because I asked you this off air when we were talking about the topic for today. I said this will be a question I pose: is you don't think this will go you don't think this will go nationally? You don't think the federal government's going to go across the country and go HST waived on all new construction for all new buyers?
I mean, I'm not inclined to think they will, unless after a year in Ontario, they've noticed some large uptick in the activity in the new build world, or a large drop in the prices. If all of a sudden, like this tax rebate or the HST forgiveness, whatever, all of a sudden starts to actually like, okay, so let's say 130K is what you can get off tech. You know what I mean? In the theory, you're in the $750 million range. If all of a sudden you start to see, okay, these price points for the purchase prices truly reflect in reductions in the price, then they may be like, okay, this worked. Like that price went from 750 to 600 or whatever. That price went from 900 to 750. That might give them a bit of, okay, this might actually help across the board. But it's super regional specific, right? Like I think it's just too.
My question is, what metric would it be that makes the federal government go, "Oh, this is a good program"? Because you know what I mean. Because let's say Ontario wipes off, let's say they make houses more affordable. Let's say they actually do it instead of making it accessible, they actually make it more affordable. Okay, let's say the home prices drop by 100 grand, and you wipe out people's net worths and now you got the retirees that can't downsize because they're stuck because they made that one final move a few years ago, and now they're stuck in this house. Does the government go, "Oh, that works, rubber stamp countrywide," or is it we know that we need housing to solve the housing crisis statistically? That's what everyone has always said. We need housing, we need supply, we need supply. Well, is it because now the new construction companies are ripping and roaring, making so much money that they are now building more houses? Well, that's a good thing, so we're gonna rubber stamp this countrywide.
That's kind of my thought, because like, you know, it's a huge lost revenue stream if they're not collecting this money, right? So that in of itself
Yep.
is like, okay, so what are we getting for the money we are losing, right? So like if all of a sudden they
Yep.
can see that, okay, it's really going to turn up the volume on the new build construction, so then the construction industry has a big influx, and the guys are working and people are making money. Okay, there might be a balance there, but I think everything is so regional specific. Like BC is not the same as Ontario, is not the same as Alberta, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. So I think it's hard to paint everything with the same brush, because you may do it and maybe it doesn't really spur a tremendous amount of new builds in Newfoundland. Right.
Well, you actually saw that with the Housing Accelerator Fund. Like
Yeah.
some municipalities in Ontario didn't even use it.
Yeah.
Or
So
they used it and didn't build any houses. Meanwhile, Halifax ripped that program and was like, "We're gonna build," and they're building units. Like that's the other thing we talk about inventory is we never talk about rentals. Like Halifax has more completed rental units coming to market this year than since
we're leading the
70s.
country. We are way oversaturated for rental units. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
People are building new buildings,
Yeah.
and the previous one they finished isn't even at 50% occupancy or 40% occupancy. Like it is quite the thing that's going to unfold here.
So like when you talk about like the we never talk about rentals like as an actual, like if you want to calm the housing market, flood it with rentals too. Like why would someone want to leave a brand new building in a good location? They can afford the price and they're going to look at home ownership. It's like, I got to buy a shitty resale down the road for how much? And then you know what I mean?
Well, on that, I mean, the government did incentivize that here with another HST and GST rebate, because it's 100%. Right? On purpose-built rentals, you get 100% of it back. Right?
Yep.
Whereas in Nova Scotia, you're only getting like $9,300 back if it's a new build, because it's like the 36% of the GST and 18% of the HST. So like it's 36 or 6,300 and $3,000 max. But if it's purpose-built rental, 100% of that's coming back to you for the GST. So they
100%.
did incentivize it, and now this is what we have. We have towers everywhere. We've got cranes all over the place.
Don't forget, Housing Accelerator Fund changed all the zoning for the whole city.
Yeah.
They just approved this urban plan, changed all the zoning for Sackville and Beaverbank and everything else.
Oh my God,
so
I drove up Middle Sackville Road the other day, and I'm like, my God, you just finished 3 apartment buildings, and like, holy crap, where'd that house go? And now it's apartment buildings going there. But it's like, I think it's a bit, that makes me nervous, because I don't see the bodies for the buildings, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? If our numbers are down, like if in Nova Scotia in December, like we lost population, I'm like,
for the guy who rants about affordability, you sure don't like seeing the solution to affordability. Like that is like if you want prices to come down, someone asking for $700,000 for a single family home,
because
no one should be able to afford that.
I literally don't think that when one thing happens, the other happens. I know it's the narrative. I know like everybody's like, build apartment buildings, things are going to get cheaper. Cool. Built a shit ton of, you got 9,000 condo units coming to Toronto here. I don't see the single family dwelling prices go down. And like, okay, you're building all these apartment buildings around here, or sorry, you did see you saw the single family pricing come down, but I don't think it was a direct correlation to the condo stuff. Right. I think it was a bit of other things. And I think even here, you're putting all these apartment buildings up. Well, when a 2-unit is $2,400 a month or $2,300 a month, and the new building that comes next month is the same, and the building after that's projecting the same. Okay. It's then everybody's incentivized to look for a house, because like to your point earlier, I can have a mortgage for $1,400 a month.
Well, hold on.
Not anymore, though, because the price points are crazy, but
not fucking true.
Right. But
I'd love to see you find a house in my area that's available for $230.
I just don't. I think they move. I think it's a bit mutually exclusive of each other, and it's an easy thing to be like, oh, this is what'll happen when it happens, but let's see what happens, because we're going to have a
Okay.
double-digit amount of inventory
Well,
hit here shortly in Nova Scotia. Let's see if the prices all of
oh
a
yeah.
sudden drop.
Okay. Are we
And
gonna
if
talk about?
they
We're talking about.
don't, my cynicalness is reinforced.
I don't think I could ever beat your cynicalism into submission. Just,
Some days it depends.
yeah. So,
It's
I
hard,
just
right? Because like it's one thing you read about it, but then you drive down the street and you see it and you talk to people. And so like I kind of marry up, okay, what you read in articles and what the pundits say and what everybody says. And I'm like, cool, but I've just talked to folks and this is what they're paying for their rental. And I just talked to other folks and this is what they're paying for the apartment or the house they just bought. And I'm like, I don't see those two numbers moving in the direction that you guys over here say they should. Is my thing.
But that's also like I was talking to someone the other day who's in the real estate industry, and he was talking about how's the market, like just that casual question, and I was like, it's pretty slow, like it just feels slow, like you know. And he was like, oh, so it's not whatever realtor's saying where they're hot and it's ripping and it's time to move. I go, probably, probably not that. Like it is, like it's not like you notice it, like as a broker, like you're not doing that many sales, you're not doing that many pre-approvals, you're all refis.
Uh Honestly, I've been a lot more busy with purchases this year than I have been when it comes to the refis. But again, it's just it's a hard thing. Like
Like as of this month or at the whole year?
for the last probably since February, it's been much more
Okay.
purchase stuff. But the refi thing is a hard one for me because it's like a lot of it is renewals and like
Yeah, that's what I meant, renewals. I
the
meant renewals.
renewals, the banks are killing us on the renewals, right? Like the big banks, because again, it's been the rate environment, right? Like the fixed market, and this is the amazing thing. It's not even in the fucking news, but like the fixed rates have gone up like 40 to 50 some percent in the last like 2 months. So like when we had a rate
Right.
environment where we were in the threes as well as brokers, we could compete with the banks that were in the threes. But then all of a sudden the monoline lenders, so there's two different types of lenders, monolines just do mortgages. That's when a broker's like, I have 80 banks I can go to. Yeah, that's who they're talking about. The six banks,
Right.
the big ones, they move to their own drum. So like when monolines, when the fixed bonds move and they go up sequentially day over day because somebody's bombing Iran or choking the Strait of Hormuz or been stealing Venezuelan presidents or whatever, when that's happening, the bond market goes up. And if it happens in a couple days, well, then those monoline lenders are like, ooh, my margins that I've projected moving forward are disappearing. So they move they move their rates up. The
Yeah, of course.
banks don't do the
Yep.
same thing. The banks can weather the storm much, much longer because they're just not saturated in mortgages. They have mortgages, they have equipment loans, they have business loans, they have bank accounts and all this other stuff. So they haven't moved the same direction. So when you're talking to somebody on a renewal and they're like, can you beat this rate? I'm like, honestly, I'm just going to coach you on how to beat the piss out of the bank you're with and get the best rate you can. Then go,
Yeah.
write my name on a wall and say I'm great. But like, unless you need more money, I don't even encourage people to like do the dance because I'm like, why? Like, if you were to come to
Right.
me, if a broker came to me on my renewal and was like, come on, man, I'll take you to a different bank. And like, unless the rate was massively different and I didn't need any extra more money, then why would I go through the process to do it? I don't want to have to go get my
Right.
income documents and my pay stubs and all this other stuff. Like, I don't care how charming and good looking the broker is. But, so that's kind of, so I guess long story being short, ironically enough, it's been a lot more purchases and first time buyers and all this other stuff that has been my spring, sprinkled with some renewal
So you're doing great.
conversations, but
So you're doing great. You're killing it.
where
Busy broker.
it's been
Making all this, slinging these houses.
it's been yeah, active.
You are a culprit of the affordability crisis by getting all these people into
I am
homes.
part of the issue.
Just so you're well aware, the things that you bang on about, you are perpetuating. Just like myself.
It's
Just like myself.
I mean, somebody's got to sell the gas at the gas station. Like, I don't know what to say. Like,
All right, before we get out of here, HST being waived on new con in Ontario. One, good, bad, yay, nay.
Oh, I think, listen, anytime they take away a tax on something, great, right? It's really just how that translates. I love when they remove tax. Awesome, right? What it does to affect the larger picture of things is yet to be seen. If it translates into builders putting that as a rebate or a mark off the price, even better. If, you know, I don't think builders are going to get greedy with it and get crazy. I heard somebody else talking about it this week, and it makes sense because, like, listen, if the inventory's not moving right now and you jack the price
Yeah,
because you've got the HST savings, who the fuck's buying it then? Right. So it's like,
right.
so
You'd be dumb. You'd be dumb.
well, it would just be stupid, right? And like, especially if
Yeah,
the
it'd be dumb.
builder a couple subdivisions over is actually baking that into the price and being like, hey, I can reduce the
Yeah.
price now, right? So if that is what happens, great. And, you know, again, I like less tax. I just don't necessarily believe that it's going to be the silver bullet of affordability,
No.
right?
If you wanted to sell a bill of affordability, they should have kept interest rates where they were. Should have kept them in the sixes.
The Bank of Canada is an
would've-
independent body from the political class, Jason.
I'm not.
You cannot.
I'm just saying, if the goal was to make it more affordable, keep that bitch where it was in the sixes. House prices were falling when it was in the sixes. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, don't say it too loud because you may see that happening if inflation and things keep going in the wrong direction. You may start to see rates go further up, and not just the fixed rates, but the variables. So,
all right, my friend, always a pleasure.
All right, brother.
Thank you, sir.
We'll chat after.
All right, always.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again.